Hello, everyone. Good afternoon and welcome. My name is Jeremy Leffler, and I work in the Policy Office at the National Science Foundation. It's my pleasure to welcome you today to the Spring 2021 NSF Virtual Grants Conference. I'm now pleased to present this session on the Faculty Early Career Development Program.
Hello, welcome to the NSF Virtual Grants Conference Career Program Discussion. I'm Lisa Rome. I'm in the Directorate of Geosciences. I work for the Division of Ocean Sciences and the Office of Polar Programs as their Career Program Officer. I'm going to give you a little background about the Career Program to get started. The Career Program is the NSF's most prestigious award in support of early career faculty who have the potential to serve as academic role models in research and education. So a career award is NSF's stamp that we are excited about your research and we want you to communicate that to audiences, the next generation of scientists and to the American public. The other interesting thing about career awards is that the recent career awardees form the pool of scientists who are eligible for the PCASE Awards. That's the Presidential Early Career Awards for scientists and engineers. PCASE awards are selected by the White House and conveyed by the president. So these are the very prestigious national awards, and you can't get one unless you have a career award. So the goals of the career program are to emphasize the importance of NSF places on early development of academic careers, to provide stable support at a sufficient level and duration to enable awardees to develop careers not only as outstanding researchers, but also as effective and committed educators. We want to encourage the faculty and particularly the academic institutions to value and support the integration of education and research. The career guidelines are here. The solicitation number is 20-525, so if you go to our website, you can search for that solicitation. The next deadline date is Monday, July 26, 2021. I strongly encourage you to go to the Career Program website for lots of information about the Career Program. That includes the solicitation, the FAQs, or frequently asked questions, and we have lots of answers for those. There's a list of division contacts, there are links to recent awards, and there are recordings of webinars. I'm going to start with general advice for proposers, and this applies to any proposal at NSF, so it's not just career, but you should sign up for automated emails from NSF so that you receive notice of funding opportunities as soon as they are published, and that includes program solicitations and dear colleague letters. You can focus in, you can tailor the kind of information you want to receive and which directorates you want to get that information from. So you're not going to be overwhelmed by too many emails. This is important because a program solicitation is published online and you would get an email announcing that solicitation, and then there would be at least 90 days until the program proposals are due. So the due dates for proposals are always 90 days after a program solicitation is issued. And that is not a lot of time to carefully read a solicitation and understand what we're asking for and to put a proposal together and to get it submitted. So you want to know as soon as possible when a program solicitation is issued. So definitely sign up for emails. You want to read the program solicitation very carefully, and you want to read the frequently asked questions because these documents contain a lot of information and probably answer the questions that you've got. And you should read those very carefully before you contact the program officers with questions. If the program officer cuts and pastes in response to your question from the solicitation, you need to go back and read the solicitation again. You want to volunteer to review proposals and serve on panels. The best way to write a good proposal is to have read some and thought carefully about them. And if you serve on a panel, you really see what makes a proposal stand out and makes it most fundable. And finally, you want to know where your research fits at NSF. And we're going to spend some time today talking about how you know where your research fits. It's important to know how NSF is organized. We are organized very much like an academic institution. So we have 7 directorates that are divided along disciplinary lines, and we have 2 offices, the Office of Integrative Activities and the Office of International Science and Engineering. I'm going to talk more about this later, but you should be thinking about where your science fits at NSF. So assuming you know where you fit, you want to wonder if you're eligible for career. To be eligible, you have to hold a doctorate degree by the proposal deadline. You have to hold at least a 50% tenure track or tenure track equivalent position as an assistant professor. Associate professors are not eligible, and there are no exceptions. You have to have both research and educational responsibilities at an eligible institution. And we're going to talk next about what makes an eligible institution. And you cannot previously have received a career award. So you can't get 2 career awards. And you can't have submitted more than 2 previous proposals. So you get 3 chances to submit career proposals prior to getting tenure, or and a major question that we get is, what is the tenure track equivalency? So tenure track equivalency for the career program means an appointment that is expected to last at least the 5 years of the career grant, an appointment that has substantial research and educational responsibilities, and it's important that your project relate to your career goals and your job responsibilities, as well as to the mission of the department or the organization. Departmental letters must affirm that your appointment is at an early career stage and you're in pre-tenure status, and it must explain how your appointment satisfies all of these requirements for tenure track equivalency. So your departmental letter is really important. We'll talk again about that in a little bit. So is your institution eligible? Eligible institutions are academic institutions that award degrees in fields supported by NSF. It can be a nonprofit or non-degree granting institution, such as museums, observatories, or research labs, but it's important to note that your position at that institution has to be career eligible. So both the institution and your position have to be career eligible. And we do encourage proposals from all institution types, including minority serving and primarily undergraduate institutions. And that includes both 2-year and 4-year primarily undergraduate institutions. So how is a career proposal different? We're looking for excellence in science, excellence in education, and we want to see the integration of the science and education. You might be wondering, should I submit a career proposal or a regular research proposal? And the things you want to think about are, do I want to collaborate with someone else? Because a career proposal is a single PI project. That includes both research and educational activities that are integrated, but you cannot have a co-PI. They're not allowed. So if you're thinking that you really want a collaborator, you should think about a regular research proposal. Career proposals require a departmental letter of support, and you want to think carefully about those letters and how your department can support you in your efforts. And most importantly, career proposals are hard to write. You have to describe your research and your education goals within the 15-page limit. And you have to be ambitious, but not overly ambitious. And the aims are lofty, and the career awards are really a lot of work if you get one. So the questions you want to ask are you at the right stage in your career to undertake the commitments of a career award? It is a lot of work, and you want to think carefully about what you'll be doing. And you want to have demonstrated a commitment to both the research and educational goals that you are hoping to pursue. So if you decide to go ahead and submit a career proposal, what is included? We've got the cover page, proposal summary. I'll go over those briefly, and then I'll spend most of the time on the project description, the departmental letter, letters of collaboration, which are optional, and a budget. On the cover page, you have a single PI only. No co-PIs are allowed. If you put a co-PI on the cover page, your proposal will be returned without review, and that's very disappointing if you go to the trouble of writing a proposal and have it just sent back. The project summary should include a description of the intellectual merit, and there you want to focus on the science and the research, and you want to mention the integration of the education efforts. In the description of the broader impacts, you really want to focus on the educational activities you're proposing, and you want to mention any societal benefits or other outcomes of the science that you're doing. In the project description, your plan should reflect your own disciplinary and educational interest, as well as the needs and context of your organization. And different disciplinary fields and different research organizations have different expectations. There's a wide range of research and educational activities that could be appropriate for the career program. So this is not, there's no formula for a career proposal. You can propose to work with K-12 schools, you can propose to work with after-school programs, undergraduates, graduate students, societies, professional societies. You can work with museums. You could work with film companies. There are no limits to where you could focus your efforts on the education. You may also wish to pursue additional activities such as an entrepreneurship, industry partnerships, or some sort of policy work that enhances your research and education plans. So be creative and be thoughtful about your project description. Again, the proposals have to be submitted to one or more disciplinary research programs. You have to choose one place to submit, although you can request co-review by other organizations within NSF. Typical award sizes vary by directorate and by division. We'll talk about that in a minute. Expectations for the scope of the research and the education activities vary with disciplinary community norms. And most importantly, you want to talk to the division contacts and the program contacts for more information on what is the norm for your research area. For interdisciplinary proposals, you want to contact all of the relevant program officers and program division contacts. So again, we're back to where do you fit within NSF, because that's quite important. So all the directorates do accept career proposals. That includes biological sciences, engineering, mathematical and physical sciences, computer information sciences and engineering, geosciences, education and human resources, and social and behavioral economic sciences. Our Office of Integrative Activities does not accept career proposals, and the Office of International Science and Engineering only agrees to co-review and co-fund. They do not accept career proposals either. So hopefully within these 7 directorates, you know where your science fits at a very high level. So we'll talk now about drilling down to the program level, because that's what you need to do. You need to understand which program fits your science. So I'm going to use the Directorate for Biological Sciences as the example. The directorate level, there is the highest level is the biological sciences. Underneath that, there are 4 divisions, and under each division there are programs. So perhaps you fit in the plant genome research program, but maybe you think, well, I could also do cellular dynamics. So you want to contact the division representatives for both of those divisions and the program officers for both of those programs to talk about where your career program proposal might fit. And suppose you just can't figure it out, you can go here for the career contacts and try to contact some of the career directorate contacts. For example, here's the Directorate for Engineering. There are two names. I've taken the names off just for space purposes, but the Directorate for Engineering has two names of program officers there, and each one of the divisions has one name and the email contact and the phone number for each division within engineering. So do contact us and figure out where your science fits at NSF. And again, if you think you might be in multiple programs or if you're uncertain, you can go to the NSF awards database and you can search. You can do a keyword search in the awards database to find recent awards. Each award abstract includes the information on which program funded that award. So you can contact those programs or the PI, the program officers responsible for those programs. And finally, you can send an email to that program officer with a short paragraph describing your research goals and asking, does my science fit in your programs? And they will help you. They will help you figure out where your project might fit. So the departmental letter, we've also talked about the fact that this is a very important letter. It's a 2-page letter. It's a commitment to the PI's proposed career research and education activities. It's a description of how the PI's career goals and responsibilities mesh with that of the organization and the department. It's also a description of how the department will contribute to your professional development and how they will mentor you and support you through whatever efforts you have to integrate your research and education. It's also a statement indicating your eligibility for the career program, either as a tenure track or tenure track equivalent junior appointment. So this letter, again, is very important, and it's an opportunity for you to figure out departmental support. There are often offices on campus that you might consult to get some support for example, if you're going to do a course-based undergraduate research program, you might go talk to the undergraduate teaching office on your campus and get some campus support, campus-wide support, and departmental support. Letters of collaboration. These are optional, but if you are working with an external organization or if you have senior scientists that will be helping you at some point in your work, you should consider getting a letter of collaboration. And the letter is actually a form letter. So there's no information in the letter. The letter is a statement that says, if the proposal submitted by Dr. X is selected for funding, it's my intent to collaborate and commit resources as detailed in the project description. This must not recommend or endorse the PI or the project. So all the relevant information has to be described in the project description or in the facilities and equipment and other resources page. That includes the intellectual contributions to the project. Perhaps they were giving you access to a site, or they're letting you use instrumentation or a facility. They may be offering to furnish samples or materials for your research. It could be logistical support, evaluation services. If you are proposing to do work in the Arctic or the Antarctic, there are important facilities that you have to consider, so you want to be sure to have those letters in place. Educational collaborations, if you're working with a K-12 school, you would need a letter of commitment. If you're working with a museum, a letter of collaboration. If you're working with a museum, you want a letter of collaboration. So perhaps if you're mentoring U.S. students at a foreign site, you might also want a letter of collaboration. Let's talk a little bit about personnel and budgets. Again, co-PIs on the cover page are not allowed. You can request support for other senior personnel, consultants, or subawards via the consultants part of the budget or via subaward, as long as they have a limited role in the project. International activities are encouraged if appropriate for the project. And again, you can contact the Office of International Science and Engineering for advice on including those activities. The programs may support buyout of an academic year time for teaching intensive institutions. And again, you want to check with your program officer. Budgets. They vary. The minimum award size is $400,000 for a 5-year duration for most of the directorates that we talked about, with the exception of the Directorate of Biological Sciences, the Directorate for Engineering, the Office of Polar Programs. And there, the minimum expected is $500,000 for the 5-year duration. Again, these are floors, not ceilings. So be aware of the budgets and be careful when you put together your budget request. Some programs do prefer to make awards at the budget with the budgets that are close to the anticipated minimum size. So you again want to check with your program officer. We know that science costs money, so we want you to be accurate with your budget and be reasonable. Please be careful and know what NSF can pay for and what we cannot pay for. Again, talk to your program officer and read the Proposal and Award Preparation and Policy Guide, PAPPG. Perhaps you need equipment, you might need to travel, facilities and logistics. Sometimes if you're working at a facility, you include those costs in the budget, and sometimes they're not included in the budget. And you should definitely talk to the program officer to find out how to charge, how those facilities you might want to use will charge, and whether to include them in your budget. The budget justification page is very important. There are now 5 pages, so be sure to use that to describe your budget very carefully. And most importantly, ask for money to support your educational component and your broader impacts. If you are planning to work with undergraduates, you would like to support those undergraduates with stipends. If you are working with K-12 teachers, you need to support those teachers with stipends. If you're working with a museum, you may need to have money in the budget to support a display or someone at the museum to collaborate with you. And finally, a timeline. There are timelines listed on the NSF website, so do go there to look, but the basic advice is to start early. And you can submit the proposal before the deadline. I highly, highly recommend that you consider submitting at least 3 weeks before the deadline, because there are always technical glitches, there's always something that happens. You also have to coordinate with your sponsored research office, and there may be many other scientists at your institution trying to submit their career awards at the same time. So you need to plan ahead, you need to submit early, and the great thing about submitting early is that you can go back and change the proposal up to the deadline, but you will not miss the deadline. So plan to submit very early. Don't wait until the last minute, and don't submit on the deadline day. How will your proposal be reviewed? We use the standard NSF review criteria for career proposals, and that is the 2 criteria of intellectual merit and broader impacts. And under both of those 2 criteria, there are these sub questions. So the question is, to what extent do the proposed activities suggest and explore a creative and original, potentially transformative concepts? Is there a well-reasoned plan? Is it organized? Does the plan incorporate a mechanism to assess success? How well qualified is the individual and the team and the institution to conduct the proposed activities? And finally, are there adequate resources, that's your budget, to carry out the proposed activities? The budget and also the facilities at your institution. So we do encourage you to contact your program directors, email the program officer, and ask if your research fits in their program. And there's some other questions you can ask the program director in addition to confirming the program fit. They might give you advice on common proposal preparation errors. They can help you understand the reviews from a previous proposal. If you've submitted your career proposal before, you can help ask them to look at the reviews and help you think about how to respond. They can point you to resources that you can use to help write a better proposal, and they can give you general advice on good proposal writing. They cannot help you write your proposal. They do not send a copy of your proposal to them and ask them to review it. Reminder, these are our general advice for everything. You want to sign up for automated emails. You want to read the proposal solicitation and the frequently asked questions very, very carefully. Please volunteer to review proposals and to serve on panels. We need reviewers all the time. You can send an email to the program officer with your 2-page CV attached. In the email, you should have a couple of sentences with keywords about your expertise, so that they can quickly go back and find you if they have a proposal that they need a particular expertise to review. And finally, it's important to know where your research fits at NSF. Thank you very much for your interest in the career program, and I'd be happy to take questions.
Okay, thank you very much. Lisa, you can join me here. We have received a lot of questions from you, and Lisa and I have been answering a number of questions. I've been tackling questions that are of a general policy nature, and Lisa's been answering specific questions about career. One of the things I do want to call your attention to is I put into the chat a couple of things. One was just a link to the career program website, where there's a lot of information, and on that page there's also information about webinars. In particular, that there was a webinar done recently on dealing with the technical aspect of putting together a career proposal, and so that information, that webinar was done recently. It's been posted to that career program website, so you should take a look at that as you're, especially if you're learning and dealing with NSF systems for the first time. There are 3 ways in which you can submit a proposal to NSF, 3 different systems. There's FastLane, which is our oldest proposal preparation and submission system, research.gov, which is the modernization of FastLane, and then also grants.gov. So please do take a look. I do recommend you taking a look at that webinar, and it may save you from having to ask somebody at your institution for help, or even call the NSF help desk. So I'm gonna, Lisa, I'm gonna just start going through some of these questions here, and we'll get to the ones that we get to in the time that we have. The first one is, can faculty go up for tenure? Let's see. Can faculty go up for tenure during the reviews for NSF's Career Award, or will it only be awarded pre-tenure?
So as long as you are untenured and an assistant professor by the deadline date, you are eligible. So even if you submit your proposal and in July, and then you get awarded tenure in the fall, you are still eligible. So we would still review your proposal, and you could still get an award.
Okay, the next question is it a bad strategy to submit a career proposal and a regular proposal to NSF at the same time?
So this is allowed only if I would contact the program officer, because although it is allowed, you cannot duplicate proposals that are, you can't propose the same thing. So it would have to be a different research topic and different education effort as well.
Great. Next question is, given that there is no co-PI allowed and there are optional letters of collaboration, can you elaborate a little bit on the extent of the collaborations in a career proposal? I know you also discussed this in the brief talk, but can you elaborate a little bit more on that?
I covered it in the talk. I think that it's somewhat subjective, because it depends on how the reviewers view what you propose to do. If they see that the other collaborator is taking on a very active role in your career proposal, in the proposed effort, they may consider that to be inappropriate for career. So just make sure that the proposed collaborator, it's clear that they have a limited role, that they are providing you advice and support, but not doing the research for you.
Okay, we had a number of questions of people asking how they could become reviewers at NSF, and I answered a number of those in the Q&A, typing them out. But the question here is, could you please suggest ways in which grant writers or research development staff can interact with NSF on behalf of faculty at their institutions?
Right. The program officers are not going to respond to the grant writers' request, but we do host workshops often to support grant writers. This one is one of them. And often the directorates or the divisions will have their own workshops to help grant writers. So I would keep an eye out for those, sign up for emails from the NSF, and see if you can participate in some of the workshops that are specifically focused on supporting. Often they're for institutions that don't provide, don't write up, where there are not a lot of proposals coming from NSF or submitted to NSF. And so we do try to support those types of institutions where they're not routinely doing proposals to NSF.
Okay, thank you. Let's see. I saw a question. Yes, so this is a question about primarily undergraduate institutions. Are they directly competing with research-focused institutions? And is one favored over the other? I'm not going to ask you to approximate the percentage of awards made to PUIs. I don't know that we have that on the tips of our fingertips, but
yeah, we don't have that information, but it depends on how career proposals are reviewed. It varies by division, programs. So some directorates put all the career proposals together and they may have a separate panel for PUIs. Some do it other ways. We in Ocean Sciences run our career proposals through the regular disciplinary panels. And while they would be competing against all the other career proposals, we do recognize that PUIs have special requirements, and so we take that into consideration during the recommendation process.
Okay, and following up on that, can you offer advice on how to demonstrate that you have sufficient support from a smaller, predominantly undergraduate institution?
Well, your departmental letter is important. And so if the department felt that, writes that this research grant is something that they would value, that they will give you perhaps time off to do research, reduced workload, whatever, that would obviously demonstrate support. They could provide you with evaluation help for all your education efforts. There are other ways that your institution can support you, but it's the departmental letter that outlines those things.
Okay, and another question that was upvoted quite a bit is about the convention regarding buying out time of the proposer. Should they be thinking about course release or summer salary as it relates to the career program?
Summer salary, either one is fine in the career proposals. We don't have any rules. If you're talking about a primarily undergraduate institution and that is what you need to make it work, I would ask for it. But I would also contact the program officer and talk to them about it. That's a good advice all around.
Okay. Is there a limit of the number of collaboration letters allowed in the proposal?
No.
Okay. Does the education component need to be specifically connected to their university teaching, or could it be related to improving education in the community, for example, K through 12 schools, or more broadly?
Absolutely. You could do many different projects. It does not have to be related to your university teaching. We, in fact, encourage you to do something that is above and beyond a normal faculty position effort. And so K-12 teaching, museums, public education, those are all acceptable, career encouraged in the career proposals, and they can be budgeted for as well.
Okay, can you describe the qualities of what constitutes an excellent educational plan? What are some examples of a standout plan, if you can provide them?
I couldn't provide examples of an excellent plan, but it would certainly integrate with your research effort. It would be not something that is going to consume your entire life as you go the 5 years. You have to have a reasonable workload. It has to be achievable. So I do encourage you to think carefully about it, and I encourage you to partner with people who have established programs, because that's often an easy way. Don't reinvent the wheel. Work with people who know what they're doing.
Right, and following up on the educational activities, do you need to include an evaluation plan?
You need to include some sort of way of knowing that your education effort is effective. For instance, if you're revamping your course at the university, hopefully the university has a way of helping you determine whether or not your new course is effective or not. So it doesn't have to be an external evaluator, but I would encourage you to have some sort of evaluation effort.
Okay. Are you restricted by when you received your PhD versus when you started your tenure track position? So for example, you received your PhD in 2010, but then taught exclusively for 10 years in a non-tenure track position, but are now in the first or second year of a tenure track assistant professorship.
There is no time limit from when you got your PhD. So you can, as long as you're an assistant professor at the deadline and have not gotten tenure, you're eligible.
Okay.
And you meet the other criteria as well.
Right. Do research faculty qualify for a career award? Are they eligible?
If your department letter says that you have teaching responsibilities or educational responsibilities and that they are willing to support that, then you would be eligible.
Okay, here's somebody who says that I'm assuming their NSF program officer encouraged them to apply for a career award through a racial equity program, which does not have a budget limit. Should they stay close to the minimum budget, or should they just try to propose what is most reasonable for their project?
That is a new program, I believe, in the EHR directorate. So they would have the EHR directorate limits, which I believe are, I can't remember if it's 400 or 500, but anyway, whether you stay close to the minimum or not is subjective. So I would contact the program officer again and ask them.
Okay. Is there a limit on equipment purchase, the equipment and equipment purchase amount in the budget?
There is no limit.
Okay. Question is, what if the PI becomes an associate professor shortly after receiving the career award?
That is fine. You would still maintain the career award, and you could for the 5 years.
We have a question asking, should we submit their career proposal in research.gov or Fastlane? I can say you may do either. They both work. Research.gov is the newest version of our proposal preparation and submission system. We're encouraging folks to use research.gov because it will ultimately replace Fastlane. Fastlane will be going away. So it's a good idea to use research.gov, especially for career. So we would encourage use of research.gov. Regarding the educational component, is that what will help you develop professionally, or is it how you will do outreach and dissemination?
It could be either. You would hopefully it could be something that you could build on to include in future proposals to NSF as your broader impacts. And it could lead to a completely different career if that was what you wanted to do. But typically we expect that it would be an enhancement to your career and that it would lead you in interesting directions.
Okay. Is it okay if your budget falls below the $400,000 minimum, if the budget is $300,000, for example?
No, it's a floor. The budget is supposed to be at least the 400,000.
Okay, and somebody's asking, can you apply for the career award from 2 different NSF programs? So for example, from mathematical and physical sciences or computer and information science and engineering? And if yes, how do you do that? How do you do that in your proposal?
So you have to pick one. You have to apply to just one program. You can indicate on the cover page, there's a box that you can say you want co-review, and you can list 1 or 2 perhaps programs that might be acceptable for co-review. But that's not guaranteed. The receiving program officer is the one who makes that decision whether or not they would co-review. It's useful to send an email to the program officer who you would like to co-review and tell them that you submitted the proposal and would they please consider co-review, and send them the proposal number, because that's how we track things down. And so when you know the proposal number, send the program officer that number and say that you've requested co-review.
Okay, can you speak to the differences between the education plan and broader impacts?
Yes, broader impacts can be just about anything. It can be benefit of your science to society. It can be increased infrastructure at your institution because you bought a piece of equipment. But the broader impacts required for career is an education plan. So career is somewhat unique in that it requires education. The broader impacts, other things are nice, but the requirement is education.
Can you define what you mean by a quote unquote limited role by collaborators in the proposal?
So a limited role is that they are not leading a research expedition. They are not analyzing your samples exclusively and doing a lot of the effort required for the work that you're proposing. That you are involved in all aspects of the proposed research and not depending on them for some critical effort.
Okay, question is, if I'm selected to serve as an NSF reviewer, can I still apply for a career in the same year?
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah. what specific metrics are used to assess if an institution is qualified to conduct the proposed research? What advice can you give to a non-R1 research institution in order to be competitive?
I'm not sure how to answer that. You know, we want proposals from non-R1s. We are always encouraging that, and we would welcome them. So you have to put your research forward, and the education plan is often stronger for non-R1s. So that's often a benefit.
Okay. Can the education part of the proposal be conducted at a foreign organization, or must it be domestic?
It could be at a foreign organization if you were, but you can't send money to a foreign organization. So if you are requesting travel, if you're educating international students, you can, I don't know that we can provide support for them necessarily. We can provide support for them to come to the US, sometimes to attend a conference. So I hope that helps.
Yeah. So here, somebody is asking about the requirement for a separate section for intellectual merit in the project description is just for career, because they mentioned that they thought the requirement had been done away with for most proposals, and that is true for most proposals. There is not a requirement to have an intellectual merit header in the project description. I'd have to look at the career solicitation to see if that header is required specifically for career or not. I'm not sure. Do you know that, Lisa?
I don't know that, but the project summary requires a separate intellectual merit and
correct.
header.
The project summary does, yes. The project description does not. Okay. Could the proposal request funds to support a postdoc to assist with research on the project?
Yes, they're often included in career proposals.
You mentioned stipends for students, but can you budget funds to support graduate students as a research assistantship at the master's or doctorate level?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, and does the NSF request a minimum amount of effort? I don't know if this is, I don't know if this is specific to career or just generally, but.
No, we don't require a minimum effort. It varies quite a bit what's requested in career proposals. So some people need a lot of support for their own work, their own efforts, and some people would prefer to fund their graduate students and their postdoc. So I think it's a good idea to have some minimum effort in there for you as a PI, but there's actually no requirement.
Okay, when you say that people should contact their program officer, who should they contact? What does that mean? Should they find somebody in their field, or is there a specific program officer for the career program that they should be contacting?
There are both. So every directorate has a career program representative. They're on interagency the NSF-wide committee. So I am the career program officer for ocean science. But if people come to me with questions, I usually refer them to the disciplinary program officer who would be handling their proposal. So I would start with the career representative for your directorate or the division, and then expect to be referred to someone who would actually be receiving your proposal and assigning reviewers, et cetera.
Okay. Can multiple unrelated projects be incorporated into a career proposal?
Yes. Well, I would think that the integration of your research effort and education effort, since it's very important in a career proposal, I would expect that they wouldn't be a whole lot of, you wouldn't be going in many different directions. So I'm not sure if you're asking about your research or your education, but I would try to coordinate it.
Okay, here's somebody saying that during their tenure track, their institute offers an associate to professor without tenure stage. Would this disqualify the proposer for the career award?
Yes, it would. If you're an associate professor, even if you don't have tenure, you are not eligible.
Does one need to get letters of collaboration from potential postdocs or researchers who will be employed on the project?
Not from postdocs, but if the researcher is listed as a consultant or senior personnel, then you would, and they're not at your institution, you would want to get a letter of collaboration. You probably want a letter anyway.
And then following up on that, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say that, and that letter is just the form letter that says, yes, I will do what the proposal said I would do.
Okay, and following up on that, if they request funds to support a postdoc, do they need to submit a mentoring plan as required by the PAP guide?
Yes, you would need a mentoring plan.
Okay. Are there limitations for the number of graduate students that can be supported?
No, no limitations.
Okay, can you explain the difference between letters of collaboration and letters of support?
We only allow letters of collaboration. And that means essentially that the person is saying, yes, I will agree to do what is outlined in the proposal. Letters of support include things like more subjective evaluation of your prior efforts, glowing praise of what you've done and how excited they are about working on this particular project. So those sorts of letters that also include additional information that's not in the proposal description are not allowed.
Right, we don't want to see those glowing letters unless there's a program solicitation specifically asks for something like that, but otherwise we don't want to have them. We've got time for one or two more questions. Can I select the program director who will manage my career proposal?
No,
or will that be assigned by NSF?
It's the assignment of the person who runs the program. Whoever that is will receive your proposal. If they are in conflict with your proposal, that it would be sent to someone else.
Okay, I'm seeing a lot of a number of duplicate questions here. Let's see. Evaluation plans are required for the research or only for the education part of the proposal?
I was speaking about evaluation of the education component. Research is usually judged by your publications, your peer review efforts, and that sort of thing.
Okay, we are just about out of time. I know we have a lot of questions that have gone unanswered, but what I would suggest that you do is look in the chat to see the link to the career program website, because there are, in addition to finding the career solicitation there and other outreach activities surrounding the career program, there are frequently asked questions available and other calendar items related to the career solicitation and the submissions. So with that, I would like to thank you for attending. Also, I just want to let folks know that tomorrow there will be 3 more sessions tomorrow. The first one covering the Directorate for Social, Behavioral, and Economic Sciences, and also the Directorate for Computer and Information Science and Engineering, and the programs offered in both of those directorates. And then later in the day, there's going to be a session covering the topic of science and security, and that session is called Promoting and Protecting the U.S. Science and Engineering Enterprise. So I want to thank you for presenting, Lisa, and also thank you all for attending. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day and enjoy the rest of the conference. Thank you so
Jeremy.
much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.